Hi everyone, welcome to Symptom Saturday. Today I have a topic that is related to my symptoms. It is not a direct symptom, but it causes a lot of the symptoms that I do have. So that's why I wanted to include it here on the symptom playlist. And that is something known as the multisusceptible gene, human leukocyte antigen 4353. Now that sounds very scientific, but this is actually, I will explain it in very simple terms. It is not that hard to understand, but when it comes to the whole picture of Lyme disease and biotoxin illness, a lot of people have difficulty processing what this is. So I'm going to split this into two parts. Today I'm going to discuss HLA 4353 and how it relates, how it works, how it relates to me. And then next Saturday I'm going to do a continuation of this, and I'm going to do sort of like an FAQ comments type of video related to this, because I do get a lot of comments, questions about my health issues. I get a lot of suggestions. People tell me all kinds of things, and it's very, very difficult to answer everything or to explain to people why I can or can't do certain things that they're suggesting. And it's most of that is related to this HLA gene. And I will explain in that video how those things relate to that gene. And this is a really huge topic because when people think of Lyme disease or mold illness or any kind of biotoxin illness, they just think, well, you go to a doctor's, you get antibiotic treatment, or you get antifungal treatment, or whatever kind of treatment, and then you're good to go. And unfortunately, that is not the case for many of us. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So this gene, a quarter of the population has some type of susceptibility gene. This is not the only one. This HLA 4353 is not the only one. There are about 10 types. They all have that little number code. The one that I have is a 4353, and that means that I'm susceptible to mold and Lyme disease, just basically everything. That's why it's called the multisusceptible. There are genes that are just susceptible to mold. There are genes that are just susceptible to Lyme. And there are other genes, as other number combinations that also are for mold and Lyme susceptibility. So there are like 10 different types. Now, 25% of the population has one of these 10 types. So that's about a quarter of the population. 7% of the population has the type that I have, which is a 4353 multisusceptible gene. When you go to a doctor's office that treats Lyme disease or any kind of mold or biotoxin illness, those doctors have reported number or percentages as high as, I don't want to say 99%, over 90% of their patients have one of these genes. So even though we only make up 25% of the general population, in these doctor's offices that treat these types of illnesses, we are almost the entire population that they see. So these genes play a huge role in our chronic illnesses. So basically, I'm going to explain to you what this is. The way that I've seen it described is people with these genetic mutations have a difficult time, their bodies have a difficult time identifying and tagging toxins in their body. So a normal person, you know, you'll have mold or whatever in your body goes around and they're tagging them, they're tagging. Your body sees that and they take all of the tagged offenders and they throw them out of the body. You excrete them through whatever, poop, sweat, pee, whatever. Now, in those of us that have these susceptibility genes, we don't do that. We can't identify these toxins. They just float around in our bodies, causing increasing inflammation, chronic health issues, and they just keep circulating in our bodies, and we're just overtoxified. There was a really cool thing that I read, and I'm going to read it really quick because I thought it was really interesting. This is an analogy that a doctor made to explain what these genes are causing in our bodies. So imagine that a crime was committed. The first police officer on the scene is able to take a picture of the criminal before he ran away. The policeman then shows a picture of the suspect to the rest of the police force. The MHC2 protein does the same thing as the first police officer, to show a picture of the suspect to the rest of the immune system. But what if the police officer's camera didn't work well, or he had trouble developing the picture? He wouldn't be able to show the picture to the rest of the police department, so they wouldn't know what to look for. The criminal is able to run around the city to commit more crimes. This is what happens in chronic inflammatory response syndrome. So basically, your body can't identify what's a toxin and what isn't. It's just sitting there doing nothing. So what does this do? It increases inflammation. Well, what does that mean? For me specifically, and for a lot of people, I have met a few other people that have a genetic mutation as well, and we have certain similarities. I have discussed my food sensitivities in the past. It's a really, really big thing that affects my life because of my chronic illness, and that's due to this genetic problem. The inflammation goes sky high, and I start becoming intolerant to everything. So I have to stay away from gluten, dairy, soy, nuts. I mean, everything. I have to avoid so many foods. I spoke about my oxalate sensitivity in a past video. That's also due to this genetic issue. You just become intolerant to everything. My intolerances are mainly food-based, but there are people that have intolerances that are environmentally based. So I spoke with someone when I was going through Lyme disease treatment who was intolerant to ants. He had ants coming into his house, and he was becoming intolerant to the ants. He would break out in a rash and become itchy. He was intolerant to perfumes. He would walk through a shopping mall, and the perfumes would just knock him out. Severe fatigue, all that nasty stuff. So it affects us all differently. But if you have one of these genetic problems, it's going to affect you no matter what. This gene makes it more difficult, but not impossible, to recover from Lyme disease, biotoxin illnesses like mold toxicity. So when you go into treatment, doctors are going to look at you and they're going to say, you know what, this is going to be a tough call. And that's exactly what my doctor told me from the very beginning. She said, you're going to be a very difficult patient to treat, and this is going to be very, very hard for us to do, because as you go through treatment, you're going to become intolerant to your medications, you're going to become intolerant to your supplements, you're going to become intolerant to different types of foods, because your inflammation is just going to go sky high. And sure enough, she was right. So that is basically the short description of the HLA genotype. 4353 for me. For other people, it's something different, but it causes, similar complications. So that's a simple answer. If you want to know more about it, you can Google HLA genotypes. And like I said, next week I'm going to come back with another video just with, an FAQ, things that people tell me that, I wish I could just direct them to this video and say, hey, go check this out. So it's going to further explain, number one, why I'm so thin. Number two, why a bunch of the suggestions people give me I cannot take. I've had people tell me, have you tried medical marijuana? Have you tried bee sting therapy? You need to eat more, more bread, different kinds of foods. And the short answer is I have this HLA genotype. But the long answer I will give in next week's Symptom Saturday FAQ video. So thank you for watching this video. I know it was it's relatively short, but it is one of the big things affecting those of us with Lyme disease and other biotoxin illnesses. So stay tuned for the next Symptom Saturday. I'll be back again on Tuesday with another treatment, and on Thursday with another Thursday Thoughts. So I will be back again very soon. Hang tight, and I'll see you guys again.